call to orders for this community service meeting at 2:35. Wanda, could you do our convocation?
Heavenly Father, thank you for having us all come together as a group. Help us make good decisions today. Lord, just be with all our people, our citizens. Help us to be good workers, servants for our people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Nikolai.
Here.
Carlos Ezard.
Here.
Bill England.
Here.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Joe Bird.
Honey.
Sean Crittenden.
Honey.
Don Garvin.
Honey.
Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Wanda Hatfield. Rex Jordan.
Here.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Janice Taylor.
Here.
David Thornton.
Here.
Victoria Vasquez.
Honey.
David Walkingstick. Brian Warner.
Honey.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for approval of minutes.
Make a motion that we approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. On reports, Marcia Lamb.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
I have just a few things to comment on. I know all of you know about the floods that we've experienced in Cherokee Nation, and just wanted to say Human Services, we were very glad and fortunate to work with the other departments, and anytime we can, we like to help our tribal members. To date, we have probably had about 23 families that have contacted us, and we have referred out to other departments. And this is by no means just Human Services that's involved in this. This is roads and rehab, and something of this magnitude takes a collaborative effort on everyone's part. On the veterans, we have an ongoing with about this time for our Valentines for veterans, and if know of an entity out there that would, the deadline for that is January 29th. We are also already making plans for our next Warriors flight, and September seems to work out pretty good for us, so that's probably what we'll go again. Maybe the second or third week. We're trying to put that in stone. Representative over there, Matt Tiger, he's going to start meeting with our people who are going to be honored each month, and meet with them just to make sure that he feels like there might be a gap in services that they aren't aware of with the Veterans Administration. And so he's going to meet with them on that Monday when they come in, just to make sure that they are aware of all the services available. In March, the Veterans Center is going to host, for the first time, the 2016 Disabled American Veterans and DAV Auxiliary Conference, and as we make plans for that, I'll keep you guys aware of that in case you want to participate or come over and say hi. That's all I have.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Marcia, would it be possible for our veterans rep over there to invite some of the other people that have been recognized as a veteran, having to come in and sit on a conference, to see about if they missed out on any benefits or anything?
We can, it doesn't sound like we're the one that's going to do it. It's going to be the DAV, but we can certainly ask.
Well, it'd be good.
Yeah.
We already have their name and address.
Right. Mhm.
The other thing I do have a question is on the, we served amnesty for netted 6 payments, it said. How many were served at those benchmarks? Yeah.
No, let me look at what you're looking at. No.
This Office of Child Support.
Okay.
Said there were 6 payment plans worked out with clients. I'm wondering how many was, I guess, behind on the payments.
Okay,
Find out, that'd be
Yeah.
interesting to know.
okay.
That's all
I know what, that might be in reference to, we're trying to look at a different way of looking at child support, and this has been going on for about 3 years, is that instead of the court, we're working with the courts to try to set up payments that the non-custodial parent can afford, because it doesn't do the child any good or anybody else any good if someone's put in jail. And so that may be what it's in reference to.
Well, I'm just curious, because it said that they netted 6 payments with plans for payments to clients. I'm wondering how many bank ones are sent out.
Okay, I'll find out for you.
Thank you, thank you.
Janice?
I actually answered my own questions, so thank you.
Okay. Wanda?
You had a grant, I was looking through your information, and concerning fathers, how, are you gonna be teaching parents how to be better parents or make better, be more efficient in their payments to their children? Is that, and I noticed that the first year where you were just, it was a planning, it was a 2-year grant. The first year was for planning, and the second year you'd implement your plans. What are you doing in that regard? Are you?
That sounds like our home visiting grant, and with any grant, there's always a planning phase, you know.
It's gonna take
But
an
what,
entire year.
yeah, if it's that one that I'm thinking of, then we go out to the homes, and, you know, when you get a child, there's no instructions with it, so we try to get them at a very early age and give them the materials and the information, and sometimes even examples of how to do and be a better parent.
Okay, is that for the mother and fathers, or just anybody?
It depends on the household.
Okay.
Now, I know there was talk of an initiative through child support, but I didn't believe it was implemented already, but I can check into it for you.
Okay, it's just a 2-year grant.
Okay.
So how will we know if that's a success or not?
I'm sorry.
How will we know if that's a success or not, or if you're making, you know,
I can give you a report on it next
okay,
time.
I was just curious.
Are you talking about the home visiting or whatever?
Yeah, I
boat
think it was the
program?
home visiting. I'm not sure exactly the title of it, but I was
Okay.
just interested because it said
Alright.
a year of planning, and I thought that was extreme for, you know, to plan, and to have the money, and it's just a 2-year grant.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it wouldn't give you much time to do.
No, it doesn't.
Oh.
But I don't believe it was just a 2-year grant. I believe the one I'm thinking about was a 4-year grant, but maybe there was an extension on it.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mark.
Chief, did you?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we might have somebody in the audience that's assigned to child support, do we not?
Yes, sir.
He might answer a question or two, Wanda, that you have.
John Hammonds, I'm with the Attorney General's office. I've been assigned to the Child Support Division. One of the things we are doing with the home visit, with the parenting curriculum, is we are now requiring all new establishments that go through the tribal court as a condition of that order, they have to go through a parenting class. Both the mom and the dad will go through this course, and they will sit through, and they will basically we'll try and tell them how best we can give them advice, how it's best for their children, if they are an intact family, if dad or mom, as the case would be, pays their child support on time and in full. Just trying to give them basic advice to make this process work the best we can.
How many cases do you have?
And I've gone through this process.
Yes.
I'm not immediately familiar. We just started it very recently. The judges agreed to start this as a condition of taking the orders, as well as we're going to start setting up a savings account, college savings account for a lot of the kids. So we're really trying to really make this more than just about paying money from month to month. Make this more of a building the family and keeping it together.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Victoria?
Yes, thank you. Marcia, about the Veterans Valentine's event, tell me what is involved and what do you need? What do you do for them?
Well, usually the centers will all send the vets Valentine's, and they might go to just different entities, and then some, in the past, sometimes they've gone overseas. It's just different things, or it may be the whole shebang, but let me put something together, and I'll send it out to the tribe through Gail.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sean?
Marsh, wanted to thank you and Barb on some of the flooding. Man, I'd call and appreciate that. You know, there was some rooms involved and a bunch of different things. And so everybody appreciates that, you know. And also, how are we on the, is it Cherokee First? Is that what it's called, where the students can work and the elders can work? How are we on the money there? Like, I know it's first come, first served. At first, I was
Yeah.
handing them application, but are we at a point where I can still, you know, be going around and saying?
Probably in another couple of months, we'll really have to start looking at it.
Okay, so we don't even have to start looking at it right now, it's just,
We're always looking at it every month.
right. But what I mean is, I don't have to be hesitant right now to say, if you'll go do this 20 hours, the quicker the better, you'll get $200. I don't have to be real hesitant right now
To
when
tell
I
you
do
the
that.
truth, I just got the budget like Wednesday of last week,
Mhm.
so I didn't see a red flag the last time I looked at it, so
Okay, I've got some.
I'll let you know
down
if
there.
there's a red flag on it.
And also, I'm curious, Marcia, like on the different advocates, like how they dispersed, like Sequoia, like, well, to get to the, like Stillwell there. You know, we have a wonderful lady doing a wonderful job. You know, she's not there on Fridays. And I think someone comes and helps her once or twice a week, is that right?
Sometimes, yes.
Does
We
it?
have what we call community advocates, where they are elder. They're supposed to be out in the communities. Well, our caseload is so big,
Right.
sometimes we don't get to do what we had planned, but that's where if she says, I'm being inundated, or not only her, but someone else, we try to send different people out.
Okay, and is that pretty much in every, human service office, is that pretty much like carries the one? Is that the way it is in most?
Yes, most of the time. In Tahlequah, we have three full-time that are there all the time, and then one that will roam sometimes.
She feels the strain,
Yeah,
you know, and,
I know.
maybe something in the future. Try to, you know, I'd love to see another one in Stillwell. I'm sure everybody else feels that way. You know, but,
I hear you.
thank you again for all your help. Thank you.
You're welcome, Chief Bird.
I'm good.
You're good?
Well, the only question, you said 23 applicants there. Are we talking about Chewy and the people east of Highway 10?
Yeah. Well, that's where it started now. It's ventured down to a little bit in Adair County. I mean, not Adair County, but towards Stillwell. I really believe that we're going to get more referrals when the people come back into their homes. And we're going to see that's the first phase, and then when they can come back into their home, we're going to see another phase, whether or not they can live there or not.
Commend Counselor Hargis for being on the spot, you know, as soon as it happened. So, you know, sometimes we don't get the word in time, but she did a good job with that.
Yeah, and I want to stress again, I'm not the disaster team here. There's 3 or 4 back here that we all do the same thing. We just fit different things here, so it's not just human services. I'm gonna give credit where credit is due, and I can't fix roads, I can't fix houses. I can only fix people sometimes, so we all work good. We're very
We're
good
going to send some to
together.
you down here.
About 17
Yeah,
at the time.
thank you.
I will fix you, Mr. Burke.
Marcia's been trying to fix me ever since I got here, Judge. And I appreciate it. Anyone else? Yes, sir, go ahead.
I just want to thank your department. I know you've been inundated with things relating to floods and people whose lives are turned upside down in that way. And yet, the one fellow in my district who really needed something this past few weeks that was very important to him, he wasn't in near as desperate a shape, but his matter is just as important to him. And your department took it just as seriously and helped him. Your department is the thing that I have yet to figure out all of it. It's a complicated, all the things you do. It's a phenomenal thing that we have to offer to our folks. And it's the catch-all. And I know I can call your folks and they'll get to work and take it seriously and understand that folks are struggling and we as representatives are struggling trying to figure out how to help these people. Your team works hard at it and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. It's, they say it every day and hear the same old stories over and over, my staff, but they take it seriously from the first time someone walks into the last time. And we look at it like we don't give people, we can't tell them what to do. We can we can suggest things. And we've had a lot of training with different things to people who are in a bad situation. They think differently than you and I. They don't think ahead. And it's not because they're not able to, it's just because their crisis is right now. So we have to get them to say, okay, we try to get them safe so then they're able to think of their future. And that mini step might not be a big step in your eyes, but in them it's a big leap. And, but appreciate your words, and I hope my staff is listening to hear them, because they're the ones that deserve it.
Well, it takes special people to do your work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good report. Mr. Qualls?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Absolutely.
I have a very brief report. On the families that have been in a difficult situation with all the flooding, I find it very interesting that we have only 4 families that we have been able to identify as definitely putting in an application to take care of some water situations. We have other applications that people have picked up but not returned. We left several applications at Chewy, and some families picked up an application at Chewy that have not yet returned them to us. And I find that very interesting that of all the mayhem that's gone on, that definitely we only have 4 that we've identified. Now, we've got a lot of applications coming in every month, but we haven't been able to identify any of those other than the 4 that actually had flooding. There could be a lot of others that's in the mix, but this just wasn't identified on the application. That's all that I have, and I'll be happy to try to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Any questions, comments? How many employees do you have, Ron? Do you know?
There's 79 right now.
Good report.
Thank you.
What, Bill,
On emergency rehab, are you in charge of that? Are we out of money on emergency rehab at our area? If somebody had a catastrophic issue, electric hit, say weather hit, came off the house, you could get somebody on it pretty quick and not a month from now, whenever the funds.
Yeah,
would be.
if it's a true emergency, we'll get to it quickly.
We had a person that, they said they couldn't get to it for a month, and they had to get an electrician, so.
Well, then we would have to.
Well, I
have
know,
an
but
electrician.
I mean, so is it truly emergency rehab, or is it emergency rehab whenever we can get to it?
Well, no, if it's displacing people, you know, we should be able to
They
get
had
to
two
it. We
young
should get
kids
to
in
it.
the house without electric for 4 days, trying to get a hold of somebody.
Well, I apologize for that.
Some people all got together and raised some money to help them get a private electrical contractor out there to get it hooked up.
You know, I remember that one, and we never could get an application from the family.
I know, and that's what I mean, there's always two sides of their story, so I just want to make sure, you know.
When we was going through the process and asking the questions about income and that kind of stuff, the gentleman hung up on us and we wasn't able to get an application.
Okay.
Okay. Harlan, go ahead.
On the report, it says, and I know we still haven't got our IHS money, probably haven't. And then it says $20 million, and hopefully increase in some of that money. Do we have any idea yet how much increase we're gonna get in IHS money?
Billy and I were just discussing that just now. I'll ask him to come up and
Okay.
he may be able to enlighten you on that.
Unfortunately, Harley, we don't know yet how headquarters is going to allocate those monies out to different area offices. We've had some conversations this week with the area office director in Oklahoma City, and hopefully we'll have some more concrete numbers here in a couple of weeks about how headquarters is going to allocate those funds. But there was an increase on the overall national budget.
The other thing on the report here, Ron, Billy, it says FY 2000 scattered housing project is nearly spent and no more new applications can be added. Is that true or what?
Yeah, our FY15 funds, when we start at 20 homes,
Okay.
but we don't have any FY16 funds to come in.
Okay, that's, and then the next one, it says FY travel individual funds are 40% expended, so you still have some.
We do have some of those.
And then the next one was FY 15, travel community funds, 53%. So you still have some funds in those accounts?
Yes.
Okay, all right, well, I just, wanted to make- that's all I had, sir.
Sean, go ahead.
Ron, what is that dollar amount that we have left in, for travel emergency?
I hate to say just the dollar amount, but it's only a few dollars. It's not hardly any money left.
That's what I heard. I mean, just a ballpark.
David, can you give a ballpark?
I can give you an exact, well, pretty close.
$12.56.
Once I get back up to the office, I can run some.
Just travel like emergency, yeah, just
Yeah.
emergency.
I'm pretty sure most of it's obligated. What we do with the emergency is normally tribal funds, we try to hang on to those as long as we can. We try to spend all of our knowledge funding first. But this year we had, I think there was 8 of them that were located in a flood zone that we had been holding for a while because we didn't have any tribal funds to help them. And we put those out for bid. And I don't think those have actually been obligated yet, so that's gonna take the majority of the tribal.
I could probably find it real quick. But what did we start out with?
Started out with, I think it was 300.
$315,000. Self-help emergency.
Yeah, that was the elders materials only. We started out with 315,000. The minor emergency repair, we started out with 387,735.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, Janice.
I spoke with, this is for Billy, spoke with you late last week in regards to somebody on the, have you followed up with him on the,
Yes.
Very good, thank you. That's all?
Counselor Walkenstick.
I was just gonna talk about the disaster relief and Joe Bird, his idea, but, you know, I think somebody needs to, in the tribe, needs to look at, you know, buying some, for those dehumidifiers, some fans for, you know, flood victims, where us as a tribe, we can go in and, even around here, I mean, when we had all the flooding in here, I mean, we didn't have anything, we just had some towels and some fans and stuff, but, are you guys can you guys buy that type of equipment with your funds?
We could, if we had enough funds. But yeah, it's an activity and the equipment that we're allowed to purchase.
That's all I have.
Let me comment on that.
Yes, sir.
I think what we have in most of our facilities here is like $100,000 deductible. And we could have saved some money if we were able to have our own emergency crew. But it's going to take some training. This is not something you do overnight. And we're not just talking about the flood. This flood came unexpectedly, of course. 5 years ago we had something similar. But even in inclement weather, ice storm, we should be able to send a crew out in all these different areas here if they're trained. We need to train our people to do that. I mean, it's not like something that's going to be that expensive, but we need to be prepared for these type of incidents with the weather as unstable it is that we're dealing with now. So, and Walkenstick and I had this discussion. We needed some help here in Cherokee County like elsewhere. Our guys were not prepared, so we have to call in specials, people to come in, and it cost. I don't know if we could offset that cost with the training that we put into this. Just something to think about. I think the group we called in was Birdcraft. They knew what they were doing. We just had wet mops and pushing water around. They came in within like 60 hours and took care of what had taken us a couple of weeks. So, and we're, you know, as a tribe, as big as we are, we weren't prepared for anything like this. So I just got to see a pretty good weakness on our side if we ever have to deal with emergencies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Ron, on one of these sheets, it's got the rehab emergency sheet where we've got an incomplete application submitted, 79. The completed are 81. The 79, once they get something on a desk, they get a date stamped, I think, is that correct? They don't lose their place in line to somebody else coming along after them? Is that correct?
Well, we will process those applications as they come in, of course. And if someone is not providing the information that we need timely, yeah, they could be bypassed. They sure could.
But do they get a date stamp on even their incomplete application?
I don't know if, I'll just be honest with you, I don't know that they do.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
They get a date received stamp.
Date received.
Do they get any kind of, somebody call them, say, hey, you don't have this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, and the majority of those that are incomplete, usually within a couple of weeks, they're all complete.
Right. Is there anything in particular that they usually hit on? I'm looking here at District 6, 18 number on here. I mean, is there something that they're all doing wrong that maybe I could go out and help educate them on it a little bit?
We have a guy, well, we actually have 3 guys, that's what they do.
Okay.
Because there's an incomplete application, they're lacking documents and stuff.
Right.
Then the housing council forwards it to them and they go out. and
Okay.
try to come to
All right.
complete.
Okay.
That's why generally they're all, within a couple of weeks,
Right.
they're gonna be completed.
Right, all right, thank you, appreciate it.
Well, I know we're going through some things here that so-and-so was sent out to help me. I've got one right now calling with an application. We send somebody to help them. Then they turn their application in, assuming that the person that went to help them, would help them fill it out right, so they wouldn't have to go through this. Do you see that? Do you see that problem where maybe they're they're not looking at it real close while they're at the home. I mean, 'cause you know, I mean, that's why we're sending them out there.
Yeah, to help them, to assist with filling it out, and they've been trained to fill them out, you know, so they should know now. They know we can actively.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good, thank you guys, appreciate it. Gary Cooper. Gary, you're sitting back there with a lot of horsepower.
I don't know about that. Yeah, the rest of them all on that one side. That's what it is. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. Ready to get started on a new year. I think it's going to be an exciting new year for us. As you probably heard, I mentioned before that we had an opportunity to apply for a brand new program, the HUD-VASH program for Indian Country, and we were notified on Friday that we will be one of 26 tribes that will get to participate on that program, and it's a collaborative effort between us and the VA. VA and us have already been in contact, and we're going to be working hand in hand with one another to do this, and it'll actually be able to assist 20 families in our area. It is a demonstration project, so what they were trying to do was to reach out to those folks who has a good history of being able to provide housing assistance and do so in different areas of the country. So we will be working with them. VA will be bringing someone on board over on their side to provide the supportive services that this program helps with, whether it's health or behavioral health or social work or some of those other programs. All of those supportive type services that they can provide. So it's a collaborative effort between both of us. So we look forward to being able to get more information from the actual notice and work hand in hand with them to be able to deliver a program that's the first of its kind in Indian Country. Other than that, you do have my report. I also want to mention that as we start a new year, this year the Housing Authority will celebrate its 50-year anniversary, 50 years of providing housing assistance to families within the Cherokee Nation. So we are very proud of that, and I think as of this report, there was almost not quite 7,000 families that we provide assistance to, 6,959. One way or another, we're touching that many families on a monthly basis with rental assistance or a home or insurance through the Community Shield program. We do good, and then every month we add to the numbers of new houses we have completed, and that program just keeps growing and growing. We continue to work on that program each and every month and have a number of homes under contract right now, and of course it's wintertime, so construction slows down just a little bit in wintertime, but as we move into spring, we'll see construction numbers pick up there too. So I think it's going to be a good year for us. Anyone have any questions for me?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Wait till after.
Okay.
I'd just like to speak with you before you leave.
I will make a note of it, so I
Thank
will be sure to.
Any questions, comments? Gary, I think tonight we're sending over some funding from rehab to you, to Housing Authority.
I think that the budget mod includes budget authority to do that. Should you decide to, or should the tribe decide to send that program over? Yes.
And what, there's no mention, we've never discussed the 79 employees that Ron mentioned earlier. Are they all going over to you, or do we know yet, or?
I would hate to discuss any of that on the record at this point in time.
we're still in the midst of working out the transition, so I think we anticipate that everyone who has a job will continue to have some place to work, but in fairness to Gary, he's working out how housing rehab will look under the Housing Authority, and we're not quite there yet, working with the Attorney General's office to work all of that out.
Will we have to vote to send over the rehab employees or just the funding? Yes, is my question.
It would be the funding, I think, that would take care of that.
And the admin sends over the employees?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Gary.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
And sorry I didn't know much more, but we're still in the midst of the discussions. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Lynn.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think you all have a copy of our report. I'll just get a couple of highlights. The CNI Industrial Park project we've got in southern Adair County, really close to being done. We're waiting on some tie-ins, backfill the curb section, light pole installation, as well as water line relocation. We've got a lower in an area, so weather's really been the big factor there on that project. We are just waiting on a few minor loose ends to be tied up before that project is all completed. 10 Killer School Road, they have they're continuing to clear and grub that project, and they're installing new fence on the right-of-way line. Kenwood Road, we had 4 bridges along there. There's one bridge, that'll be the last bridge closest to J or Highway 10, that is still under construction. Again, weather there's been holding us up. They're waiting on paving to get done there. As soon as paving's completed, they'll begin the installation of the guardrail signs and finish up the sodding. But again, weather's been a factor on that one. We're waiting to get some good weather to get it completed. Hopefully by the end of the week, we should be seeing some better weather. And lastly, on the Wycliffe Bridge in Mays County, we're working out the final details on making the final payment to the contractor on that. Project is completed, but we are awaiting final payment. I guess I do have one more. Northeast Fort Gibson, we're acquiring right-of-way on that job. We are down to the last, I think last time I reported, we had 9 left. We have 8 now. We're still working to get the last 8. We've been working with the county commissioners to try to get them involved in the negotiations process, and hopefully we'll get some of the remaining 8 and get the project out to a construction point where we're moving utilities. So, Mr. Chair, that is my report, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Frankie?
Michael, I've been asking, I think, since I got on council, but are we any closer to getting Malloy Hollis started?
We are. I actually drove that way last week, headed up down towards southern Adair County. So I drove through that project. Yes, we are. There's still some design issues, design hurdles we're trying to overcome, but yes, it is getting closer. I know you've been asking about it for a long time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Good report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Knight?
You should have a copy of my report. I just have a few other comments to add, and that is we're getting ready to start free tax preparation. You guys should have already gotten copies of the flyers that shows all the tax preparation sites that we're going to have this year. I will note that only 2 sites have walk-ins. The rest of them are all by appointments, and appointments start January 18th. So if you have any constituents that are interested in it, they should call and make an appointment. The number's on the flyer. And we'll also have a link on the website that they can go to and file their own taxes free of charge, which year. Also, I wanted to note that we've hired a full-time person in J. We had someone that was traveling back and forth. A lot of our J clients actually work in Tahlequah, so we had someone traveling back and forth, but we're going to hire someone that is actually stationed in J. Good news is that we've always had trouble having adequate map numbers in Delaware and Adair County because of the housing stock. So we're also going to hire someone, we should have them on staff probably in March or April in Stillwell. And they'll be in Stillwell for 2 to 3 days a week, and we anticipate probably by the end of the year that'll be a full-time site as well. Diane Kelly's gonna let us have some space over in her area in Stillwell. And the last thing I wanted to point out was, down at the bottom of the first page, it talks about the household income and the home price. I just wanted to point out that the average home price of the MAT clients is now about just under $105,000. It's $104,000. 1 year ago, it was $94,000, and a couple of years ago, it was 80-something. And so the housing prices have really remained pretty stable. So the way the MAT program has been restructured under Chief Baker, it's enabling people to buy a little bit of a nicer home or a little bit of more home than what they were getting before. So we were glad to be able to see that trend happening. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions or comments? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Where are they gonna be located, Jay, at the career services?
No, in Jay, they're in the Housing Authority.
Okay. And then, what's the average monthly payment on those houses, 104?
No, but I can go back and look at it and email it out to
Be
you.
interesting to see. Yeah, that's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Charlie, could you take that for us, please?
I will. This is a resolution authorizing the Bureau of Indian Affairs to revise and update the Cherokee Nation's inventory of tribal transportation facilities. I move for its approval. And Michael, does this need to go to council tonight?
It does not.
Okay. Move for its approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? All for its approval, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. And number 2, that's mine, and it's a discussion-only item. And if somebody could holler at Ron, David, with Housing Authority, I appreciate it. Gary, excuse me, David's not here.
You know, we did this a few years ago. We talked about storm shelters, and we had all those incidents there around Norman area. And we did get into some storm shelters early on with housing rehab, and I know some were done in your area. But as far as legislation, I don't think we ever put any type of initiative like that on there, but with the way things are now, I think it's a great idea that you brought it up and discuss it, see where we need to go from here.
Well, and Gary, if you could come take the stand, lead this. Talk to us about, you and I talked probably a couple of years ago about the city storm shelters at New Alloway, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
They put 2 gas tanks, essentially, that are like 60 or 80 foot long together, covered them with dirt, and they're ground level. Wheelchair folks can get in. It's almost ADA compliant. Well, it is ADA compliant. And at the last couple of storm seasons, the entire community, of course, there's only 240 people in that town, but the entire community and all the dogs in town got in both of those things, the mayor tells me. And to me, I don't know how it would pass an engineering test. We talked about that too, whether it would be at what storm level that it could take, what tornado level it could take. And I know Councilor Walkenstick has recently done some work in his district with a different style of storm shelters for a community, not just 4 or 5 people, but 50 people. And so this is a discussion-only item, but someday we're going to have to figure out what to do, because we've got a lot of senior apartments, you do, under your wing, and a lot of those are remote. I know the one at Bonita is remote, the one at Nowata is remote, and probably throughout the 14 counties. The older folks aren't going to be able to get to the shelter very quickly, and some of them are in wheelchairs. And so I wanted to put this on just to start the thinking process. And if somebody, I think I sent Gary a lot of pictures about the one in Alloy. It looks like it'll work. I mean, it's been standing there for 15 years now, and they've had some storms go over. And so I don't know about the one that Councilor Walkenstick is doing. I think it's taking a semi-trailer and burying it. It seems like it will flood to me, so I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I don't know, and I do know, and Counselor isn't here, so, but I do know that, they were in the process, or a couple of his communities were in the process of putting one in, and I was waiting until they got in so we could take a look at whatever the one that they did was, and I think that they've just got that in. But I haven't got to look at those just yet. But yeah, and space is the other limitation we have on our properties, because on the apartment projects. In a couple of areas is we're very limited on the amount of space that we have.
And I wondered, had you had a chance to run by Halloween and look at those, or?
I have not. I've seen the pictures, and I've also seen the pictures of some other ones. There's also some that some other folks I know down in the Choctaw Nations put in a couple of different places, but not nearly the size that we're really looking for.
Sure.
That can hold a large number of folks. So
Can I make a
that,
comment?
yeah.
Yes, you can.
The problems like in, like Oklahoma City, like Moore area, it's like you have to consider, the water level, because even though sometimes you put a storm shelter in, they float to the top, and that's many problems we've had in Oklahoma City, metropolitan area.
We have those
Cherokee.
floating in my area too
Yeah,
sometimes. They
because-
have to come back and rebury those things
That's in eastern Oklahoma, there's a lot more water, the water table's probably.
on a standard storm shelter.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
The ones in Oklahoma City that we've been putting in, that's a grant, correct? Now, if you look at, is there any other, somebody may know, other types of grants? We built a middle school at Salisaw recently. Well, the way they designed that, one part of that is a large safe room, the way they designed the wall and everything. And when we're building these I know we're putting a community building up in your district. Have we ever thought about trying to get some grant funding so that you can go in and make part of that a larger storm shelter?
And we need to do that. The clinic right across the street has somewhat of a safe room,
Right.
although it's not as safe as the ones that we are building today. Jay, Oshaleta,
Right.
Salisaw, it's got a big safe room in it. And they're not calling them tornado shelters for some reason, they're
Right.
calling them safe rooms.
Right. Well, I think
There's a
that's
liability issue.
technical ratings, yeah.
But anything that the nation builds from the ground up on a tribe or CMB basis should either be close to a facility that has one, or we've just designed all the clinics to have one.
Mhm.
I think Stillwell is that way. And that's something, it adds to the cost. It's a big issue. But I wanted to float this by you guys because I can provide all of you with the same pictures that Gary's got. And I was impressed that it held the whole little town, including all the dogs in town, so. And it looks like to me it'll work, because they piled enough dirt on top of that thing that it looks like the old style storm shelters we saw at farmhouses that were built in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And those rode out all the storms. They got water in them usually, but they rode out all the storms.
A couple of snakes in there too.
Yeah. Yep. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
And I'll just put that over for,
Discussion.
yeah, it's just discussion item only, and we'll just put it on for next month. Carry it on. Yes, sir.
But you sent me a picture of the storm shelter, because we have the same thing in Spavin, they're having problems getting finished up. I'll take a look at the picture.
Okay, I'll do it. let's see, let's go on down to announcements, and Victoria has given me an announcement from Stacy Leeds. And let me get this straight. Could you please share with full council an open invitation to attend an Indian gaming law and regulation class that she is teaching at the U of A next week? It's free to attend, and they're gonna have one day at Hard Rock, I believe. And Wednesday and Thursday of this week, is that this?
Page, and it tells you where it's at, Fayetteville.
U of A?
Yes.
Wednesday and Thursday.
Wednesday and Thursday, January 13th through 15th, 2016,
12:30 to 5.
12:30 to 5 in McDaniel Classroom, room 342 at the U of A. And then we get down to, when's it coming to Hard Rock?
It doesn't really say that it's Friday at the Hard Rock, and I
Right.
believe it's the same time, like 1 o'clock to 4 or something like that.
Friday at the Hard Rock, 1 to 4. And so everybody's invited.
Mr. Chair, would you have to scan that and email that out to us?
Can,
Gail has the email, if we can just get her to send it to everybody.
okay, we'll ask her to. And I believe that's it, unless somebody has another announcement.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.